I think that these bands of distortion at the horizon are caused by diffraction rather than refraction. And what he was showing there seems to support what I was thinking the other day, the stuff I was posting in the Skype chat. I'm wondering, I want to ask him about some of the conditions present when he was taking the footage there. Like, was the tide going out or in, things like that? Because I think that stuff actually matters quite a bit.
Hello.
Hey, welcome back.
I had an issue with my PC then, for whatever reason. I'm just about to present, and my disk, everything just seemed to refuse to work. So that was very odd.
No worries. We're at the point that you present the money shot, the best bit.
I know. We'll get there.
It's all good.
I'll get there.
It's building tension for the audience. Well over 100 people watching, so.
Awesome.
Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Yeah. Hang on.
No rush.
My computer's still just loading up at the moment.
No pressure.
I didn't know.
Yes, exciting, isn't it? Got under the refraction band, that's right. While you're looking for your PC to start and get photos ready and stuff, I'm going to plug my show later with Quantum Eraser. So John and I are going to do a presentation. Well, I say John and I. John will do it on this channel at about 6 PM UK time. I think it's 6 PM, 1 PM Central. So yeah, tune into that. Quantum mechanics is the subject matter. Be sure to tune in.
Right, okay. I forgot what number I was up to then. 3702, right, okay, so let me just present. Screen share. Okay, so
while you're getting that photo up, I'll just summarise what's just happened, just so this is condensed to this section now. So what Ranty's just shown us is a video. Maybe I won't. Is a video of his observation from about chest height and showing the refraction band and then dipping below it, but it was a video. So now we're moving on to the still shots of some of the buildings, etc., that are below the refraction band. So when you're ready, you pop it up and I'll display you.
So the video was at 3701. In the video, you actually hear me saying that I'm going to crouch back down again and take some still images, which I do. So this is image 3702. Now you can see the cresting wave, you know, in the foreground, so you know that I am actually in the same location. But look at this. Look at this. This is sensational. I mean, the refraction zone is not evident at all. There's no refraction going on here whatsoever. All this is exactly how we see it from a higher elevation. When I look down from 50, 60 feet high, I have got those images. I've just not had time to look for them yet. I'll do that on my channel later. But this is the same thing that you see from really high up. This is exactly what you see. We're seeing down to the shoreline, essentially. And then over here, this is where the start of the floaty land starts. Now, this is the interesting part, because we have the only land that is visible here is either the sand dunes at 30 to 35 feet high, or in the far distance at nearly 30 miles away, we have the backside of this mountain range that comes down, goes right down and rises up to 150 feet. Now that's at nearly 30 miles away. So it's basically take your pick, because it's either 150 foot part of this at nearly 30 miles away that should be 450 feet beyond the curve, or it's the sand dunes in the foreground at a distance of around about 17 miles or so that are about 35 feet high.
We would just go back to the clock tower for a second, Ranty.
Yeah.
So this clock tower, you're seeing all of it.
Yep.
Previously, you've had sort of refraction when you've got down to the beach in previous demonstrations of this clock. you do have refraction running through it. So you've got half a clock and half a band of refraction, i.e. the same as what you showed on the video earlier in this show, but there's none of that. I mean, the next thing I'm hoping you'll go to, unless you've got another photo in this series, is the reverse of what we normally get, which I was also astonished to see when you got the refraction going upwards.
Yes, that will be. This is 3703. Again, we're getting a tiny little bit of distortion going on. It's like the atmosphere was changing between me taking a click of the image. So I think it probably took me 45 seconds to a minute to reel off 10 images of this location, right? And in that time, we actually see this clock reverse up on itself. It's, it's really freaky. You was the one that pointed that out, if I remember rightly, Nathan.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm so used to seeing what we normally get is whatever, a lighthouse, a landmark, refracting down upon itself, and then that band gets more and more blurred out depending on the conditions. And then that is counted by globe heads as refraction. Here we go. Whereas what we see here is the complete opposite. We're seeing down to the shore, and then we've got the clock refracted up.
And yet these buildings, this isn't a refraction of themselves. This is how those buildings look. This is exactly how I see them from 60 or 70 feet high. All the shoreline underneath is exactly the same. But you can see that the church spire here, this is the spire part there, it's doubling up on itself. And this is being stretched right up. And I think in the next images, here we go, we can see another portion it's higher again, but the really low stuff, because I'm really low, and the really low stuff is not being affected at all in the image. Nothing is being affected, nothing right down to the shoreline. And now this is the shoreline, and it's basically you've got a sandbank running around it, and you can see where the refraction zone is starting to take effect. And it's starting to take effect on these buildings at this height. These are the highest buildings in the area. So it makes sense that it's just a very lucky observation that I was able to capture. This is where the refraction zone's happening. And we see it even more in the next image. I mean, look how it's doubling up on itself even more. The lower buildings, they're not being affected though, because we're underneath the refraction zone here. Again, these buildings not being affected. There is some more land still visible in these.
Can I ask a question?
It's
yes,
kind of underneath the refraction zone. I'm not too sure how to even.
Well, there you go, Arwin. Can you see this building, this white building, and it's refracting up. It's mirroring itself upwards.
Well, how would you know, really?
Well, because the rest of the buildings are all consistent with what they look like. So when Ranty's shown me the same shots from on that promenade, that concrete promenade, it's about 35 feet high, and he's looking down, it negates the refraction zone also, and you get the same effect. Here we go. Look, you can see it. You can go back one shot, Ranty. See through the tops of the building? Look where the refraction, that would normally be at the horizon. That's above it. It's above the horizon, so we've got a clear view of the horizon, and yet the tops of stuff is being refracted above itself. This is not what we normally see at all.
So that's a mirage, basically.
Yeah, but the tops of the buildings are miraging upwards. Normally we get them miraging downwards, and then it blurs out, and they call it bloody curvature.
Ranty, can I ask you, was the tide going in or out when you took these photos?
I believe it was just still going out.
Right. And it looks like it's not very many waves, right? It's pretty calm for that area.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I think I believe that those are the conditions that you're going to be able to see low to the ground like that.
Look at the side here of the mountain.
It's going to be calm.
It's also getting distorted.
Oh yeah,
See?
well spotted, Arwin. Yeah, well spotted.
Very weird.
Yeah, but I think that you're going to be able to see down to the shore when you have the conditions of the tide going out and the waves, well, the waves are smaller when the tide's going out, so that helps. You need calm weather and the tide going out.
Can you
I
just
think it
get
has
it
a lot
back?
to do with
Sorry to interrupt, Nami. Can you just spin back a couple more shots just so that we end on the perfect shot before the refraction started to take effect? Because you got two shots that were basically, they looked the same to me as when you got it from a higher elevation. There wasn't any interference at all. You'll get there eventually. It's about 6 more
From
shots.
what I'm seeing, my first glance conclusion here is that the entire thing is basically in the miraging, in the refraction zone band. And it's just, I don't know, maybe it's because of the low angle that you get this strange effect, but the whole band, it seems like the
Here we
entire
go.
set of buildings there is within.
So if you
that
look,
zone.
Arwen, thanks to your spotting of the refraction band in the mountain, you can see the exact point on the far left-hand side of this. Oh no, it's not quite on screen. I'll just change it for the audience. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, there you go, Ranty. Do you see it? You can just move the frame as far right. Yeah, I don't know if, the audience can see it now but you can see where the miraging is above the buildings. Do you see it? There's like a little chunk taken out of the mountain.
Oh yeah, yes.
Well, that's where in other words, that's above what you're seeing. So that's where you're having the effects of the miraging and a circle of confusion. It's above all the buildings you're looking at. Hence the, I'm going to shrink it down just so again it is for the audience. Where this clock tower is and where these buildings are, this is exactly how it looks from a higher elevation because the refraction band is above it.
I can see this entire image, what I'm looking at now, when I'm around about 60 or 70 feet high on the seawall at the top, and I can look over and I can see Barrow in Furnace, and it looks like this. And then when I get down to, 15, 20 feet, 6 feet, it's all blurred, and you don't see it. And then when you lower right down to, like Anthony did, to about a foot and a half, you get underneath that refraction. And it brought it back perfectly.